I'd like to call the June 25th, 2025 Ad hoc Committee meeting to order. Will the recording secretary please call roll?
Jose Cardenas,
Present.
Anna Marie Francois,
Present.
Ruben Macias.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. This afternoon, the Ad hoc Committee will interview candidates for public member positions on the Committee of Credentials. There are 2 public member vacancies on the Committee of Credentials. The interviews will be conducted via Zoom. At the conclusion of the interview process, the Ad hoc Committee may select individuals to recommend to the Commission for appointment to the public member positions on the Committee of Credentials. The Ad hoc Committee may also select individuals to recommend to the Commission to serve as an alternate for a public member position. Any recommendations of this Ad hoc Committee will be presented to the Commission for final action on Friday, June 27th. The Ad hoc Committee will now accept any public comment on this item. Members of the public who are attending the meeting at the Commission office will need to submit a request to address the Commission card to the meeting moderator. Individuals who join the meeting via teleconference, please notify the meeting moderator by clicking on the raise hand icon if participating through Zoom, or pressing *9 if participating by phone. Public comment is limited to 2 minutes per speaker. Recording secretary, are there any public comments?
We do not have any public comments.
The public comment period for this item is now closed. The following interviews are for the public member positions on the Committee of Credentials. At the conclusion of the interviews, the Ad hoc Committee will deliberate on the qualifications of each applicant. The first candidate for the public member position on the Committee of Credentials is Rachel Hayes.
I will promote the candidate and bring the person into the room.
Hello.
Hello, Ms. Hayes. Thank you for joining us at the Commission on Teacher Credentialing and for speaking with us today. I am Commissioner Francois, and joining me on the panel are Commissioners Macias and Cardenas. We're going to ask you a few questions, and at the end of the interview, you will have an opportunity to ask us questions, any questions you may have. Commissioners, do you have any questions? Actually, before you start asking questions, let me ask a few questions. Ms. Hayes, are you currently employed in a certificated position in public schools? Please note that a certificated position is any position that requires a credential that is issued by the Commission. Pursuant to Education Code Section 44002, a credential includes any credential, certificate, life document, life diploma, permit, certificate of clearance, or waiver issued by the Commission. Are you currently employed in a certificated position in the public schools?
No, I currently serve in a classified position.
Thank you. Are you currently a member of any governing board or a school district or county board of education?
No.
And the Committee of Credentials meets 3 full days per month and is required to prepare for the meeting by reviewing all cases for several days in advance of the meeting. The committee reviews educator misconduct cases to determine whether to recommend discipline on the educator's license. Do you believe you can make this time commitment and review the subject matter?
Yes, I can.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Ms. Hayes. My first question is, please tell us why you are interested in serving on the Committee of Credentials.
Yeah. So I've been a credential analyst for the past 5 years. I've worked in 2 different county offices. I was first in Trinity County Office of Education and then moved down to Butte County Office of Education, which is just an hour and a half north of you guys in Sacramento. And so I've visited lots of conferences in Sacramento and been wanting to be involved more with the CTC. And this committee feels like a really good opportunity for me to stay connected to the Committee of Credentials and also understand some of the back workings of the credentialing process.
Thank you. My next question is, do you know any of the current members who sit on the Committee of Credentials or the Commission on Teacher Credentialing? If so, in what capacity?
No, I do not know any of them personally or professionally. I do know of some people on the CTC just through credentials, the conferences that I've attended in Sacramento.
Thank you. And do you know any current commission staff? And if so, in what capacity?
No, I do not.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Ms. Hayes. Please describe your knowledge of the Education Code, California Code of Regulations, and case law as it relates to nexus to fit to teach, adverse action against credentials, and the Committee of Credentials.
Yes. So I have, I think, 2 parts to my answer here. The first one is in relation to Education Code. This will be my my 5th year working in CalSAS. So I have a really strong skill of being able to look at Ed Code and compare that to educators' authorizations. I know that this will be dealing mostly with background checks and educators' potential criminal records. But I do have a strong ability to reference Ed Code and dissect that. And then the second part of that is a lot of my job here, I would say maybe 25% of my job as a credential analyst is actually fingerprinting people for the CTC. And so I have a lot of experience on the front end of understanding what someone needs to go through the fingerprinting process. And I also review their rap sheets or potential arrests and previous criminal records as well to decide if they should be passed into the classroom. So I have some experience in relation to background checks and Nexus, and then extensive experience with Ed Code.
Thank you. What strengths do you possess? Yes. What strengths do you possess that would be assets to serving on the Committee of Credentials? What weaknesses may impact your service?
I believe that I'm very passionate about anything that I set my mind to, and so I'm looking forward to and excited about a new project on my plate. I definitely have space for it. I feel like one of my strengths is being able to converse with multiple people. And so the thing that draws me to this is that it's a committee, meaning we'll be working together and trying to make determinations on these cases. I think a weakness of mine may be that I'm too attention detail oriented sometimes, but I am currently working on that and trying to make sure I don't get hung up on any one applicant for too long. Maybe asking for help in those situations.
Thank you.
Ms. Hayes, please listen to each of the following scenarios. For each one, please discuss whether you would close the matter or recommend discipline on the educator's credential. And then please explain your decision-making process. You ready?
Mhm.
An educator has 3 felony drug convictions in 1997, 1998, and 1999. On each occasion, the educator was in possession of methamphetamine.
That is what, about 15 years ago. They were consecutive cases of a pretty intense drug. Um, I would not recommend this person. I believe I would make a decision to employ discipline for this educator moving forward.
Can you explain your decision-making process?
Um, hmm. It's a tough one. I think the decision is based on the fact that these were 3 consecutive felonies. It's not just one offense. And so 3 strikes feels like a pretty significant past record, and something to be taken seriously.
Thank you.
Mhm.
I have your second scenario. An educator learned that one of his high school students spent the night at his colleague's residence. The educator did not report this information to law enforcement.
Could you repeat that?
Yes, an educator learned that one of his high school students spent the night at his colleague's residence. The educator did not report this information to law enforcement.
That is definitely, I think, a case for disciplinary action, as it does not comply with the mandatory reporting section that is included in law. That's mandatory to report to the state. And I believe in that case, you are considered guilty, or at least justified to have disciplinary action because you did not report something that you saw or heard of that is mandatory to report to the state.
Thank you.
I have the third scenario. A male teacher appearing before the Committee of Credentials admits that he has taken one of his students to the mall and purchased clothing for the student, as well as provided transportation outside of school. The educator and student have exchanged text regarding the student's alleged troubled home life and dating life. The student's parents have submitted an affidavit to the Committee of Credentials complaining of the teacher's behavior.
Mhm. It's tough. I definitely want to take into consideration that the gender of the teacher may create some bias in this scenario. Whereas maybe if it was a female teacher, it wouldn't feel so stigmatized for someone to be, helping a female student, buying them clothes and things like that. And so I think acknowledging our preconceived notions and stereotypes, this doesn't feel like an extreme situation. I don't see any relation to sexual assault or any type of breach on trust for the student. And I think that maybe more information would need to be gathered. Maybe there's a statement from the student that may be helpful, or a statement from the educator to further investigate this situation. But just on paper, from the facts revealed so far, it doesn't feel like any disciplinary action would need to be taken at this time.
Thank you.
Our next question is, please consider a situation in which most members of the Committee of Credentials feel differently than you do as a recommendation of discipline. The deliberations indicate that 5 members oppose your recommendation and only 1 member agrees with you. How would you handle this?
Have we already had discussions before this? Is this kind of like towards the end of the process?
So I can only read you the scenario again.
Okay.
So please consider a situation in which most members of the Committee of Credentials feel differently than you do as a recommendation of discipline. The deliberations indicate that 5 members oppose your recommendation and only 1 member agrees with you. How would you handle this?
I would definitely take into consideration that there's a majority of people that feel the same way, and only 1 that's on my side. And so I may reconsider my initial decision, just to see if there's maybe something I missed. At the same time, if it was maybe something worth discussing further, if there was open to communication after, this decision was made, then maybe if I felt really, really strongly about the decision, maybe I feel like the 5 people maybe missed something that may be worth bringing up as additional consideration. So it could really go either way, I think, depending on the situation. But definitely considering the opinion of my peers in a decision where it comes to disciplining an educator.
Thank you.
I have the next question. When faced with a difficult case in the committee, which do you think should be given greater weight? The protection of the teacher or the protection of school children?
100% without a doubt, the protection of the school children.
Thank you. The next question. You're very concerned about a case that you read as a member of the Committee of Credentials because the case involves a close friend of yours. After you read the case, you feel that the facts reported to the commission by the district about your friend are false. You feel obligated to inform your friend, and you feel that the committee should not close the case and take no discipline on your friend's credentials. What issues should you consider before proceeding?
Well, first of all, the issue of confidentiality in this committee, meaning the cases that I would potentially see are not to leave the room or the committee. So that would be an entirely breach of trust to even proceed further with telling my friend. And also, if offered the option, I may step out of that case and disclose my personal attachment to the case to the committee.
Thank you.
Ms. Hayes, you're very concerned about a case that you read as a member of the Committee on Credentials because the case involves a close friend of yours. You just did that one? That's what I thought. My number was off. I'm sorry. I apologize for that. All right. All right. Here we go. Back to... It's your turn.
My turn, okay.
Hayes, do you have any questions of this panel?
I'm curious as to how many cases you review per month and what each of your case loads look like.
I think that for an accurate response to that question, you can ask, should you be selected as the candidate moving forward, that you could consult with our legal staff for an accurate response.
Okay. And then let's see. I'm not sure if I have anything off the top of my head. Maybe another question would be, um, what is the timeline for getting an invite or a position on the Committee of Credentials? When would that term start?
Again, and with apologies, we can't give a specific timeline at this time.
Okay, no worries.
One moment, I will
Um,
promote one of our attorney so they can explain.
Very good. We're going to welcome legal staff in so they can give
Okay.
you a response.
Thank you.
Trent, can you accept as a panelist so I can bring you the room?
Are you able to hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
So sorry for the delay. I was having a bit of technical problems. Um, so essentially, after today, this panel will be making a recommendation to the committee as far as candidates that they wish to move forward to. And then over the next 2 days, the commission will be meeting and we'll take up that recommendation. And if the commission approves any recommendation of any candidate, then staff will be in contact to schedule training and go over kind of logistics about what committee membership would look like. I would anticipate that it typically takes about 1 to 2 months before new committee members are able to be kind of trained up and set on a committee.
Okay, that
Um,
makes sense. Yeah, I would appreciate any training related to this too. That would have been my next question. So I appreciate your answer. Thank you.
you're welcome.
Thank you. Ms. Hayes, do you have any additional questions?
That is all for now.
Okay. Well, thank you, Ms. Hayes. We will now deliberate, and it says here staff will escort you out, but staff will move you into the public space.
Okay. Thank you so much.
You are
I don't see our next candidates on Zoom yet. Okay. Okay. Yes.
The second candidate for the public member position on the Committee of Credentials is Dion Lau.
Staff is contacting the person. Zoom. Mr. Lau, can you actually accept it? Mr. Lau, can you turn on your camera and mic, please?
Ask her if she can see you. Can you see me and hear me?
Yes, can you see us?
Yes.
Okay.
Hello, Mr. Lau. The name on your screen does not match the name that you submitted in your application. Could you tell us, just for our records, repeat your full name, please?
Dion, Dhyan, Lal, Lal.
Thank you very much. Thank you for joining us at the Commission on Teacher Credentialing and for speaking with us today. I'm Commissioner Francois, and joining me on the panel are Commissioners Mancias and
Hello.
Cardenas. We're going to ask you a few questions, and at the end of the interview, you will have an opportunity to ask us any questions you may have.
Okay.
So let me get us started. Are you currently employed in a certificated position in the public schools? Please note that a certificated position is any position that requires a credential that is issued by the Commission. Pursuant to Education Code Section 44002, a credential includes any credential, certificate, life document, life diploma, permit, certificate of clearance, or waiver issued by the Commission. Are you currently employed in a certificated position in public schools?
No, I'm not.
Are you currently a member of any governing board of a school district or county board of education?
No, I'm not.
The Committee of Credentials meets 3 full days per month and is required to prepare for the meeting by reviewing all cases for several days in advance of the meeting. The committee reviews educator misconduct cases to determine whether to recommend discipline on the educator's license. Do you believe you can make this time commitment and review this subject matter?
Yes, I am and I can.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Law.
Good afternoon.
I have the next question. Please tell us why you are interested in serving on the Committee of Credentials.
I have served as an educator for almost 40 years and retired and have been doing a lot of grandpa duties and community duties. And then I figured it's time to give back to the education committee. And I thought, and a friend of mine says, hey, you should apply for the committee on credentialing. So I did.
Thank you. My next question is, do you know any of the current members who sit on the Committee of Credentials or on the Commission on Teacher Credentialing? If so, in what capacity?
I know of Brian Astrachan. And in what capacity? Well, Brian Astrachan, believe it or not, I'm dating myself, was a student of mine back in 1978. And we keep in touch once in a while, and that's about it.
Thank you. Do you know any current commission staff? And if so, in what capacity?
No, I don't.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Lowell. I'm going to ask the next 2 questions. Please describe your knowledge of the Education Code, California Code of Regulations, and case law as it relates to nexus to fitness to teach, adverse action against credentials, and the Committee of Credentials.
I am pretty well versed in the Ed Code, having served as a teacher all the way up to superintendent. And I can mete out impartial judgment. However, if you were to ask me some right now, I'd have to go back and research my memories.
Thank you. What strengths do you possess that would be assets to serving on the Committee of Credentials? And what weaknesses may impact your service?
The strength is that throughout my education career, I've held many, many positions, and each position presented in it some challenges with which I dealt with by looking at the Ed Code and by seeking out assistance of legal counsel when necessary, especially when I was a superintendent, and to make sure that no matter what the decision is, that it's impartial, based on case law, and also adheres to the Ed Code.
Thank you. I am going to restate the second part of the question. What weaknesses may impact your service?
Well, I cannot really speak to any weaknesses, not at this point.
Thank you.
Mr. Lau, please listen to each of the following scenarios. For each one, please discuss whether you would close the matter or recommend discipline on the educator's credential. Please explain your decision-making process. Okay. Scenario number 1. An educator has 3 felony drug convictions in 1997, 1998, and 1999. On each occasion, the educator was in possession of methamphetamine.
This is a matter that would be referred to legal counsel for their advice, and based on that, a decision should be made that would not impede students or the profession. In other words, I would recommend for discipline if legal counsel suggested it so.
Thank you.
Mr. Law, I got scenario number 2. An educator learned that one of his high school students spent the night at his colleague's residence. The educator did not report this information to law enforcement.
I think the first step would be to have legal investigate the matter. And why was the student there? Was it a friend of the family? Was it relative? Or was it something that is completely contrary to what the Ed Code says and what the legal counsel says? And based on that, if it is found that the individual acted inappropriately, then we have to protect the child and refer this to law enforcement.
Thank you.
I have the third scenario. A male teacher appearing before the Committee of Credentials admits that he has taken one of his students to the mall and purchased clothing for the student, as well as provided transportation outside of school. The educator and student have exchanged text regarding the student's alleged troubled home life and dating life. The student's parents have submitted an affidavit to the Committee of Credentials complaining of the teacher's behavior.
Again, this is a matter that should be investigated thoroughly because perhaps the teacher was buying clothing for an individual. This is just a scenario who may have been very poor. However, if this is not the case, and if the parents have filed a complaint, then we have to refer the teacher to the committee for perhaps some disciplinary action, a warning, or a letter in the file, or not limited to dismissal, depending on the outcome of the investigation, which at the face of it, it looks like a very inappropriate behavior. We have to protect the children at all costs. And however, we should also be aware that sometimes educators do help children, in fact, feeding them, buying them clothes, if they are homeless or they come from a very poor family. So we cannot make an arbitrary decision, but we better make a decision that protects the child and adheres to the Ed Code.
Thank you.
Our next question, Mr. Lal. Please consider a situation in which most members of the Committee of Credentials feel differently than you do as to the recommendation of discipline. The deliberations indicate that 5 members oppose your recommendation and only 1 member agrees with you. How would you handle this?
I would make sure that my recommendation is founded in law, in Ed Code, and after considerable research on what was the problem, and then try to impart this information to the rest of the members. However, if the rest of the members have some very salient points regarding why they feel another way, then I would defer to their recommendation.
Thank you.
I have the next question. When faced with a difficult case in the committee, which do you think should be given greater weight? The protection of the teacher or the protection of school children?
The protection of school children.
Thank you. And the next question. You're very concerned about a case that you read as a member of the Committee of Credentials because the case involves a close friend of yours. After you read the case, you feel that the facts reported to the commission by the district about your friend are false. You feel obligated to inform your friend, and you feel that the committee should close the case and take no discipline on your friend's credentials. What issues should you consider before proceeding?
I would just recuse myself.
Thank you. That concludes our formal questions.
Do you have any questions of the panel?
No, not really. I'm just actually having had worked with the commission previously in my role as the deputy superintendent of CDE back 1,000 years ago. I am aware of what the commission and the committee does, and I am, if selected, very proud to serve on it.
Thank you so much, Mr. Lau. We will now disconnect this call and deliberate.
Well, thank you very much, and thank you for doing what you do, because I know it's a volunteer position, and it's what I call a community service, and we all should give back at some time or another, as you are doing right now. Thank you again for this interview.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Kyle, are you going to contact the next one?
The third candidate for the public member position on the Committee of Credentials is Anna Osipova.
Staff is contacting the individual right now.
Hello? Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yes, hello, Miss.
Hi,
Can you say your last name for us, please?
Osipova.
Osipova.
Mhm.
Hello, Ms. Osipova. Thank you for joining us at the Commission on Teacher Credentialing and for speaking with us today. I am Commissioner Francois. Joining me on the panel are Commissioners Mancias and Cardenas. We're going to ask you a few questions, and at the end of the interview, you will have an opportunity to ask us any questions you may have. Are you ready to begin?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, let me get started. Are you currently employed in a certificated position in the public schools? Please note that a certificated position is any position that requires a credential that is issued by the Commission. Pursuant to Education Code Section 44002, a credential includes any credential, certificate, life document, life diploma, permit, certificate of clearance, or waiver issued by the Commission. Are you currently employed in a certificated position in the public schools?
No, I'm not.
Are you currently a member of any governing board of a school district or county board of education?
No, I'm not.
Thank you. And the Committee of Credentials meets 3 full days per month and is required to prepare for the meeting by reviewing all cases for several days in advance of the meeting. The committee reviews educator misconduct cases to determine whether to recommend discipline on the educator's credential. Do you believe you can make this time commitment and review this subject matter?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. Please tell us why you're interested in serving on the Committee of Credentials.
I started in my current position. I'm the Personnel Compliance Officer at Glendora Unified. So I handle all of the credentialing for our teachers. And it's been a very interesting learning curve of seeing how the credentialing world actually works since I am on the classified side. But I thought that this would be a really interesting opportunity to see a little bit more about all the things that happen kind of on the back end that I don't get to see in my current role. So it's kind of to give me a wider understanding of everything that goes into teacher credentialing.
Thank you. Do you know any of the current members who sit on the Committee of Credentials or the Commission on Teacher Credentialing? If so, in what capacity?
I don't.
Do you know any current commission staff? And if so, in what capacity?
I don't.
Thank you.
I have the next two questions. Please describe your knowledge of the Education Code, California Code of Regulations, and case law as it relates to nexus to fitness to teach, adverse action against credentials, and the Committee of Credentials.
So most of my job as the Personnel Compliance Officer is navigating all of those different legal guidelines and the way that they interact with each other. I work closely with our assistant superintendent on reviewing any ed code changes and seeing how that impacts all of our bargaining agreements and local labor law. I am the person that all of our live scan results come to. So I'm very familiar at reading penal codes at this point, unfortunately, and have a pretty solid understanding of what we are allowed to look at to consider for employment, what we aren't allowed to. So it's honestly a lot of what I do on the day-to-day in my current position as it is.
Thank you. What strengths do you possess that would be assets to serving on the Committee of Credentials? And what weaknesses may impact your service?
I think my biggest strength is my curiosity. I always love to learn more. That's a lot of why I wanted to apply for this position in the first place, is to get a better understanding. But I think in regards to analyzing the information that would be sent my way, it's a lot of not making assumptions about where people are at and actually looking at things with an open mind and being curious about the full picture that got somebody there. and the repercussions that there may be for the other people, students in particular. So I think just having an open mind and curiosity, being willing to dig into things to see how the laws play out with particular situations, and recognizing that every situation is unique. I think the flip side of that too is I am a very curious person, and so sometimes I find that I can get a little caught up in like well, why was somebody doing what they were doing? And to a certain extent, sometimes that's irrelevant, especially when it comes to the legal code.
Thank you.
Please listen to each of the following scenarios. For each one, please discuss whether you would close the matter or recommend discipline on the educator's credential. Please explain your decision-making process. Okay, you ready?
Mhm.
Okay, the first scenario is an educator has 3 felony drug convictions in 1997, 1998, and 1999. On each occasion, the educator was in possession of methamphetamine.
I believe that, if I remember correctly, with charges like that, the length of time is something, I'm so sorry, the length of time is something that we look at, and those occurrences were from a long time ago. I'm sorry, somebody was knocking on my door. I'm so sorry. I'm so very sorry. We're having a payroll emergency. My I'm so sorry. Can you please repeat the 2 options?
Are you okay to continue?
Yeah. They just thought that I had somebody in here who was handling a situation in my office, but they went to go get that person.
Okay, I'll repeat the scenario.
Thank you. I'm sorry.
No worries. An educator has 3 felony drug convictions in 1997, 1998, and 1999. On each occasion, the educator was in possession of methamphetamine.
So again, I think that the length of time that has elapsed is something that gets taken into consideration. So I would take a look at what the guidance for that is, and make a determination based on that.
I have the next scenario. An educator learned that one of his high school students spent the night at his colleague's residence. The educator did not report this information to law enforcement.
And I'm so sorry, what was the verbiage for either, I believe it was closing the,
Close the matter or recommend discipline.
okay, recommend discipline for that one. They are a mandated reporter, so I would recommend discipline.
Thank you.
I have the third scenario. A male teacher appearing before the Committee of Credentials admits that he has taken one of his students to the mall and purchased clothing for the student, as well as provided transportation outside of school. The educator and student have exchanged text regarding the student's alleged troubled home life and dating life. The student's parents have submitted an affidavit to the Committee of Credentials complaining of the teacher's behavior.
I believe that an investigation would have to occur.
Thank you.
Next question. Please consider a situation in which most members of the Committee of Credentials feel differently than you do as to the recommendation of discipline. The deliberations indicate that 5 members oppose your recommendation and only 1 member agrees with you. How would you handle this?
I think a lot of that would be really understanding where people are coming from, why they disagree. So it would be a lot of a discussion, hashing it out a little bit, understanding if it's coming from a place of kind of instinct or if it's actually something that's grounded in ed code or penal code, and just kind of having a discussion until hopefully everybody can find a consensus. But ultimately, it's like being on a jury. You just work until you can hopefully agree.
Thank you.
I have the next 2 questions. When faced with a difficult case in the committee, which do you think should be given greater weight? The protection of the teacher or the protection of school children?
And ultimately, we're all in education and everything that we do is for students. So I would always default to protecting the student.
Thank you. The next question. You're very concerned about a case that you read as a member of the Committee of Credentials because the case involves a close friend of yours. After you read the case, you feel that the facts reported to the commission by the district about your friend are false. You feel obligated to inform your friend, and you feel that the committee should close the case and take no discipline on your friend's credentials. What issues should you consider before proceeding?
Confidentiality. You really can't do anything. You have to be impartial in the discussion of that case. I would have recused myself if that's an option because you can't be impartial in that situation.
Thank you. That concludes our formal questions.
Do you have any questions of the panel?
I don't think so. I just want to say thank you for the opportunity.
Well, thank you, Ms. Osipova.
Perfect.
We will now disconnect this call and deliberate.
Thank you so much for your time.
Take care. I want to thank the public member applicants who interviewed today. We are grateful for your willingness to serve on the Committee of Credentials. We have heard from 3 public member applicants, Rachel Hayes, Dion Lal, and Anna Osipova. We are here to recommend appointments of public member applicants to serve on the Committee of Credentials. We may also select an alternate. Let's discuss our thoughts on the strengths and weaknesses of the applicants. Who wants to start? I'm happy to begin. I think the first thing that I want to say is I want to acknowledge the varying expertise and experiences that each one of the applicants might bring to the Committee on Credentials. And I don't know what the vetting process was before coming to the ad hoc committee, but they were all very well vetted applicants.
Yes, I'd like to echo the comments of Commissioner Francois. Each of the candidates comes with kind of a unique set of experiences. Some of them have served for many years, and then others are maybe closer to the beginning of their career, but they have a particular insight that would be valuable. I do appreciate on each of their responses to what I think was a key question was the idea of the primacy of the safety of school children. And that really is, the core mission. So I did note and appreciate that.
I think all the candidates definitely bring a really interesting lens and perspective, which would add value to the COC. And I think it's really important that the public members are able to see from different perspectives, and especially with the protecting school children being number one. But I do see value in all three of the candidates. And I'm just really thankful that they were all here today and they participated in these interview questions. We know that they could be pretty overwhelming at times, but just really appreciate their honest answers, the respect for confidentiality, and also the importance of this task, because this is a very important position that requires a lot of attention and a lot of detail. And some people even mentioned curiosity. So it's very important that they bring all these elements to the table.
When I was listening to the applicants, one of the things that I most wanted to hear was not just a working understanding of Ed Code, but a practical application experience, like practically applying Ed Code to particular situations. And it sounded like all three of the candidates had experience in that. I also really appreciated how self-aware that they were. I will say that the second two candidates that we listened to, they were very decisive in their responses. They had a clear way forward. And now that I'm saying it out loud, I don't know whether that's a positive or negative, but in this world, we need to be able to be decisive.
I agree, and I would say it wasn't just decisive, but it was decisive with deliberation or decisive with intent. I feel like there was a rationale, and so I do agree that but that stood out for me as well, and that's an important distinction.
I think they also considered impact of their decisions, because the impact it would have on the educator and the impact it would have on students. So I think that was vital as well.
Yeah, I think that's something we have to really look carefully about is, the scenario questions about whether or not to move forward with discipline or not, but being able to describe your decision-making process, I think is a really important part of what we all do at the commission. They intuitively sometimes and automatically we know something has to happen, but being able to justify and put your rationale out there, I think is a really important qualification, quality to bring to the table. And I think that we saw that in varying degrees amongst all three of the candidates. Do I have a motion for the selection of committee members?
I want to get the verbiage right.
Mhm. I move.
I move to recommend Mr. Dion Lal, as a public member. Correct?
Yes.
For the Committee of Credentials.
I have a motion by Commissioner Mancias.
And I will second that.
I have a second by Commissioner Cardenas. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Do I have any other motions for the selection of public members?
I'd like to move to recommend Anna Osipova as a public member.
I have a motion by Commissioner Cardenas.
I would like to second that motion, please.
I'm clicking that button. I don't know whether I'm muted or not. There we go. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? Motion carries. Are there any other motions for the selection of perhaps an alternate public member? not perhaps. Do I have a motion for the selection of a public member alternate?
I'd like to make a motion for Rachel Hayes.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that motion.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. The ad hoc committee's recommendations will be presented to the commission on Friday, June 27th, 2025. This concludes the business before the ad hoc committee, and we are adjourned.
Thank you.